My name is Audrey. I'm from Neolab Technology. Greetings from Team Room8. They say salutation to you Earthlings from Planet 8. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it here. I would like for you to meet someone. There's a boy named Musa. Well, not a boy anymore. He's a young man. He's graduating today at NUST. Now, he wasn't always a graduate. About 4 years ago, he was a freshman. He was a freshman student at NUST, and he'd just gotten a place from Mutari at NUST in Bulawayo. He'd never been there. He didn't have friends there. Now, when he got the place there, his excitement levels plunged from, oh, yes, I got to uni, up to, but where am I going to stay? And he had about 1,001 solutions to look for a place to stay, right? No. Actually, he had about 3. Of those 3, the first was calling the university to hear about campus residence. Obviously, they couldn't help him. I mean, they only house 144 students out of the 6,500 that they enroll annually. What does that mean his chances are? You can do the math. So the next and last option that he had, yes, the last, was to travel to Bulawayo and to do it personally, if you know what I mean. He is not the only person who's actually going through this. We're looking at a university that is enrolling 6,500 students. And we're saying of these 6,000 students, 90% of them are coming from outside of town, and 70% of them are living off campus. So we've got students that move 2 to 4 times. And during our survey, we could determine that they're not always happy with the place they get at first. So in 1 year, you see a student moving 1, 2, 3, 4 times to look for the ideal place to stay. What is the solution we're bringing about? Room8 is a platform where we are looking to change the social, the student social activities, starting with student placement. What am I saying? We believe that for every student, what influences who you associate with, what you do in your time, is the people that you stay with and where you're staying. Looking at how many people have to board twice to get to campus, it means they've got very little time for them to engage in other social activities. So Room8 is bringing on board landlords and students on one platform to interact on student accommodation, as well as for students to interact on all social activity issues. Who is our market segment? We're looking at Zimbabwe alone. We've got over 15 universities in Zimbabwe, and they've got an average enrollment of 7,000. So roughly our target market segment will be 105,000. And of these, in 2 semesters, we've got 3 classes of students. We've got parallel students, we've got conventional students, and we've got block students. So they come and go in different times of the year, all year round. What are they paying? They are paying a subscription, $2 for a semester. So you can be on the site and do your interactions for the whole semester. And we're calculating that at 105,000 for 2 semesters, and we're getting roughly 409,500. Whom are we looking to partner with? Now, these are the people that matter to us most as Room8, and without them, we couldn't do much. We need endorsements from universities to partner with them in taking care of their students. We need to talk to the students as well, because they are in need of this accommodation. Landlords, you've got an extra room to share. You could be sitting right next to a landlord right now. We've got aggregators. Now, this is where the fun comes in with Room8. We're looking to gamify the whole listing of houses to make it fun for the students. Now, as a student, you are the person that knows where the accommodation is, how much it is, and which better places are there. So as a student, you can be an aggregator and list on behalf of those landlords. So we're looking at a student who's moved in the past year 2, 3, 4 times. How many houses is that already? 4 houses. How are we looking to do this? Now, initially when we started in August, because we're small and, well, besides my designer and my developer, I'm on the business end. I had to walk door to door in surrounding places close to NAST, to list these houses, to tell the landlords, hey, you've got a problem. Every time you need to tell someone that you've got a room, you have to walk to NAST and put a poster somewhere. And I'm giving you an alternative solution. We're looking at advertising for the landlords. You post your house, if you want to do it directly to us or on the site, and then word gets out to the students. We're looking at marketing. Already, we're undergoing massive, aggressive social media marketing. We're getting the word out there on what Room8 is hoping to do. We're looking at developing a mobile application because we're saying most of the students have two biggest assets, your Android phone and your laptop. So it will be great for you to connect to the Wi-Fi, but looking at how much people they have at campus, you might want to use your data using your mobile device. And we're doing a feature-by-feature development of the website. So if you've got a house to let, this is the site. You can check it out. Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey, for the presentation. So what I'm hearing here is you want to displace real estate agents by forming a platform where you're basically cutting them out. Am I correct?
Real estate is a really big word, Victor.
Okay.
But we're looking at accommodation for students.
Accommodation for students.
Specifically at this stage.
Yes.
Before we go into low-income spenders. We're talking about people that want a one-room, a two-room that they cannot find on any mobile or online application.
So what's your plan for quality assurance in that I'm here in Harare and I want to go to NAST and I need accommodation. I'm just doing this thing on an app or online. What's the quality assurance that I get that when I get there, everything is in place? And how do I know I'm not dealing with bogus people?
All right. With the landlords that are coming through to us, I personally am contacting them. So what happens is on the site, you will get details of that house and as well as pictures. There's contact details for the landlords. So before you come to Bulawayo, you call your landlord and say, hey, I hear you've got a room to let. Is that working for quality assurance?
Yeah, but look, I could take photos anywhere and just post them on the website. And you buy into it and you pay the money. And then when you come to Bulawayo, there's nothing. You can call me and I can answer the phone.
I cannot buy into something that I've not seen. I'm saying, as the business developer, I will go there personally to check out the house before you can get to call from Harare to say, I'm looking for a house. And this is our reputation at stake. I cannot put fake houses for me to, hurt my business.
Yeah, so then how do you then scale just outside of NAST? If you're just going to be the only one going to Gweru, to MSU, or to Mtare, to Harare?
Okay. Because we're starting with NAST, this is what we're currently doing. But we are going to scale into 15 different places. And because we're going to do that, we need to have operational people in all those places. So as we scale, we are going to start to employ people that are representing Room8 at each and every town. For instance, in Bulawayo, we are serving NAST, Lupane, and Zimbabwe School of Mines at a time. So we've got already people, me, myself, who's working on those 3 areas already. If I'm going to move into Harare and I have to look at Bindura University, Chinoi, UZ, HEAT, then we have people as well that are centrally located to do that.
Hi, Audrey. I think this is a very good service that you're offering. I can see that there's a need, and I understand the complexity from the perspective of trying to find accommodation in Bulawayo from Mutare. I can see that's a problem. I think your projections of having 100% of the market are ambitious,
Okay.
So I think you need to be a little bit more realistic about what the real actual revenue in your business is going to be. And I think you have, well, I don't know much about how you're planning to market the service, but I think that you're going to find that there's a lot of money needed up front to get those subscriptions through the door. It sounds like very little. $1.95 for a semester doesn't sound like a lot of money. But in my experience, it's hard to get 20 cents out of a lot of people. So don't just assume that it's cheap, therefore people will flock to your doors. You need to focus your business modeling around how you're going to reach those students.
Am I allowed to say something? All right. Before we actually pegged our subscription at $1.95, we had a survey at NAST to ask people, looking at how much you've spent getting accommodation in the past, how much are you willing to part with now to get accommodation in a way that is much simpler and easier to you? Now, looking at instant, we've got agents that are not, registered, and they're charging $20 to $30 to tell you there's a house that is vacant. The tenant just came out. And if you're not going to be using one of those people before you get to Bulawayo, you're probably going to use your bus fare. And you're going to need a place to put your head while you're in Bulawayo for that 2-3 days of searching for a house. So I think looking at the opportunity cost, I would rather pay the $2 than spend some $50 trying to get to the place and do it myself.
Yeah, there's something that worried me last time, which unfortunately it continues to worry me even today. You have mentioned a number of just over 100,000 for your target market, but I didn't see anything about the properties available, your estimation in terms of the landlords who are willing to give their properties away or their rooms. In my view, I think your business really, the success of your business is highly dependent on the availability of the accommodation itself.
True.
I can imagine that at this point in time, I don't think, in my view, the landlords are really desperate, to get the students coming in, simply because there's a lot of demand for their rooms. So I'm kind of concerned how you're going to get the landlords coming to your platform and listing their properties, if already they don't have to do much to get this business, because we have more people demanding what they already have. Okay,
right.
So I just need clarity on that, because I think that's where really, the crux of the matter is, because if you don't get the rooms available, then the landlords will just continue what they were doing, putting up posters and filling their rooms almost instantly, I think.
All right. I understand what you're saying. But we need to understand that our landlords are not our customers. Our customers are the students. So looking at Bulawayo alone, as in residential houses, people always have an extra room that they put all their stuff in, or they've got a room at the back. But they don't know they don't have ways of making money with that other room, right? The first preference for any students is to live closer to campus. But we're saying there are other places that you could get if you're not on the site early enough. So it is my responsibility to ensure that we've got enough houses for all those students that are available. How do we get these houses? We've got already people that are being charged to advertise in the paper or at shops, notice boards and the like. And we're doing it here free of charge. So because accommodation is seasonal, today I don't have a room, but next month, who knows, I have a room. So that is how we're planning on working.
So what are your numbers? What really are your numbers in terms of the supply side?
Okay. Up to date, we've got 30 houses that I signed myself that are only around NAST. And I'm looking into scaling in this last quarter. I want to get aggregators that can get information on houses in the CBD areas and areas that are outside of town as well.
Okay, and let's say you have 30 houses. I think what is not going away here is the fact that you have got a lot of students who are looking for accommodation.
True.
Okay, so even if you list something on that site, if I continue coming and I don't get anything, simply because there are more of us who are looking for accommodation, I think over time, people will lose interest in your platform, simply because I keep listing, I keep putting, looking for accommodation there as a student, but I don't get anything simply because there's little accommodation available compared to the demand.
All right.
Yeah.
At this current moment, we don't have students that are looking for accommodation. Why, you would ask? This is the dying minutes of the semester. People are writing exams and looking to go away for vacation. But looking into January, February, when universities reopen, surely at that time we should have a sufficient base at which we can serve our customers.
So you're making an assumption that you will have enough properties listed by then.
It is not an assumption, but I've got a working plan.
Can
that
you
I'm
tell us
putting
about
into
that plan
play.
then?
All right. As I had mentioned earlier, working with aggregators, I'm a student who's currently living in Keta. There's another student who's living in Popoma, and another one living in Queen's Park East. We've got a couple of students in Kilani and Kumalo, as well as in Selborne. These people in the past year have moved 2 to 4 times. So they know information about houses that are being let by other landlords. Not only that, but because of the ecosystem in which they live in, they know who else is leasing out property. So tapping into that alone, we are paying aggregators to come up with 20 houses at least to bring into the platform. Now with about 5 to 10 aggregators, we can actually scale up to 200 in a few months.
And do you personally vet each property?
Well, now I have a very huge base. I don't need to go there personally.
Why not? Isn't that part of the value proposition that you're offering?
It is
Is
part
that
of
the
it.
properties are qualified and you've checked them and they're free of lice and rats and dogs and cats and whatever else people
All right.
don't want?
I would want to go personally to 300 houses. If it were possible, I would. But if I've got someone that I can give the job to do, whom I trust in my team, then I think we can do it, the 3 of us.
I must congratulate you first for at least identifying a real problem
Thank you, sir.
that needs a solution. And then, although I still struggle with how capable you are at providing that solution, and the reason is very, very simple. You will need to manage the disappointments. And like what my colleague said, once people are disappointed, they're less likely to come back again.
True.
I'm also struggling with how you can scale this if you have to do a physical inspection. I would rather be more of an opinion where, you sort of like look at, the Airbnb style where, people who've used a certain product can be able to vet it online, and you give some point system so that, the guys who don't have good places are less likely to get guys coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And also even the students themselves, they need to be rated. Are they good tenants,
True.
So I'm really struggling because it's good that you've got local knowledge around NAST. You actually know what exactly is happening, how people are paying $30, etc. So yes, there's a need. But I just really struggle in terms of understanding how you are going to meet a need that goes into the 6,000s of people. I don't know how many homes are around NAST, but 6,000 homes is a lot.
True.
So that's where my discomfort is.
All right. Can you just briefly, in few words, ask me what you were saying? I got lost in...
Okay.
Let me do that for you, but we don't think there's enough supply to meet demand.
All right.
That's the big question
That's
in
the
everybody's
biggest
mind.
question
And
that
it
we have.
comes to being able to qualify that supply, make sure that it is of a decent quality. And the other comment I think that Bester made, which is very valid, was qualifying the quality of the student. Does the landlord really want some drug-dealing, dodgy, nust student in their
All
house?
right.
But before... Have they really? I'm very sorry to hear that. But the other question I wanted to ask you is your website operating? Is it up and running?
Yes, it is.
And you're not able to demonstrate that to us or show us the...
Live.
Or dead.
All right. Just to talk to you, sir. I would love to be a jack of all trades and go to each of these houses. But as a business person, I have to be efficient and effective in all the things that I'm doing. This is why it's pivotal for me to actually have people do that instead of taking all the weight onto my shoulders and inspecting one in each and every house. Now, to talk about reviews and, as you were saying, reviewing landlords and tenants, as I alluded earlier, we're producing a feature-by-feature deployment of the website. So not only is social activity about where you're staying, but it's about what kind of a place are you staying.
Well, yeah, in fact, maybe you didn't understand what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was saying it's not practical for you to go and make an inspection on every home.
Yes, it's true.
So if you can let the users do the inspection for you and give you feedback, and you can do it efficiently, I think that would be, well, in my view, I think that would be a more feasible approach.
All right, thank you for your suggestion.
Yeah, just following on that one, I suspect that the accommodations for students tend to be the same accommodations year after year. Am I right in that assumption or not? In other words, if a landlord is renting his house or his rooms to students this year, he probably did it last year, he's probably doing it next year. Or do
But
the
some of the
students,
cases, yes.
half of them, all of them, most of them, three-quarters? I mean, I'm just trying to understand, because when I went to university, where all the students lived in private properties,
Mhm.
they tended to always be rented by students, year
True.
after year.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
And is that the case here as well?
All right.
Or are they really competing with the commercial non-student market?
We're going to have to merge both of it because we have a huge market. Now, my point was to say there are areas that are closest to the campus where students think is the first preference.
Yeah.
It is first preference, right? And there are places further away. Some prefer to live in town. They can afford it, yes? Some prefer to live in common houses and the likes. But if preferences differ like that, then we need to offer different things to our customer so that we can cater for all
The
of
reason
them.
I was asking the question is because it seems to me what you need to do is go to all of the existing students, give them some kind of incentive to register their existing accommodation on your site with a little review. I think Bess is right about that self-review of those students.
All right.
So that you can get, if you say there's 6,000 students there now, if you can convince them to register their current accommodation, that's 6,000 rooms you now have in your system. Now, whether you run a competition, that you win something if you enter your current accommodation, or you get free access to the site for the next year if you register your accommodation this year, because those particular accommodations are going to be there probably for the next 5 years in your system to be rented to students. And your big issue, as everyone has said here, is getting enough supply in there. So that was just one suggestion I had for you. You're not taking any money from the landlord, is that correct?
Most landlords have up to 2 properties.
No, you're not taking. Are you taking any money from the landlord?
I'm answering your
Oh, sorry.
question. Yeah. Most landlords have up to 2 properties. But if you begin to register 3, 4, 5, then I'm going to start to think you're into real estate and I will charge you for advertising a day.
All right, I'm not entirely sure that's a good idea, but that, I guess, answers my question. I think the points that have been made before are very valid about you wanting to get $2 from a student per semester, which, as Jeff says, it's not always easy to get money, but you've done your survey, fine. But you're only going to get someone paying that if there is always some availability on your site.
Yes.
Now, I think what we're all worried about is that you've got 2,000-3,000 students paying you $2 a semester, and you've got 50, 60, 100, 500 rooms on your site, of which they've been taken. So if I go to your website and I put in Kamala, that's where I want to live, and I see 0 availability, I'm not going to pay you for the next semester.
True.
So you've got to have an oversupply on your site.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like Expedia asking me to pay money for Expedia, yet there's no holidays available on the site.
True.
It's just not going to happen. So that is a big concern of mine. I think it's of everybody's. But just talk to me a little bit about the rest of your team that's not here. Who else is in your team, and what experience has the team had so
right.
far? That's my first big question. The second one is, you launched in August. Just tell us a little bit more clearly about how it's been since August. What's your revenues? What has actually happened? How's it grown since August?
I didn't launch in August, but this is when I turned the idea into a business and I started to work on it. All right. So in as much as I want to launch, I have to do it in January when I've got enough supply, right? And the other question was?
Your team. Tell me about your team.
All right.
Who's involved in this?
We are all students. They're into computer science students. They couldn't make it because of graduation today.
Just tell me how many have you got?
5.
5. Okay, there's you and then the other 4?
There's me, and then we've got a developer and a designer, and we've got an advisory board from Neolab Technology.
You got, sorry, from what, Neolab?
Neolab Technology, yeah.
Tell me about them.
There's Takunda Chingonzo, he's helping me with business development,
Yeah.
and Jabulani, he's working the guys with the technical stuff.
Are they taking salaries, or are they taking equity, or these
They're
4
taking
other teams?
equity when we...
Okay. One thing we haven't covered here at all really is your expenses. You showed us the revenue lines, but now, and you then talked about your aggregators, which you're paying. What are the expenses of your business look like?
All right, we're looking into marketing. That is the biggest expense that we might have because we need to expand into the whole of Zimbabwe. And we're also looking into issues of patenting. We need to pay for that, obviously, and we've got salaries.
Well, how much are you spending on these aggregators that are putting in the 20, 30 houses now?
All right, the plan is for aggregators to get a fixed rate for 2 houses per se, but also get an incentive for reaching their target within a specific time period. So we would say for 20 houses, you'll be getting $1 for 2 roughly, and then when you reach 20 houses, you get an extra 5, so you've got $15 for 20 houses.
Okay.
Just a very quick one. Two quick questions. The first one is, what other additional services are you providing? So if a landlord and a student both agree, there obviously needs to be some level of agreement, a formal agreement. And usually there are always payment or collection issues. How are you going to address that part of things? Then the second question is, if you get the 10,000, what are you going to use it for? And I want you to be very, very clear about what that will be used for.
All right. Because we're a platform, that is just bringing landlords and students to talk about accommodation. They will do the signing elsewhere. We are bringing them together to say there's a house in Selborne, there's a room in North End, and then they do the agreements together, right? And then the issue of what will I do with 10,000? I need to expand. I need to launch, I need to market, and I need to pay salaries and to pay patenting fees.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for